Volunteers, I have a bunch of pre-selected quotes from George Orwell's 1984. Could really use some help reading all these quotes, and we already have a couple volunteers. So if you already spoke to me, please come on up. If you're interested in reading some, please come on up, and we're going to start reading them off. Very quick. So the first one is the empirical method of thought, and answer liberty, practice, and the second one, belief. Down to real quick.
You had to live, did live, from habit that became instinct, in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, and except in darkness, every movement scrutinized. I don't want our populace to live in fear of its government. The government should fear the people.
All rulers of all ages have tried to impose a false view of the world upon their followers.
Yes!
Very true.
Don't you see that the whole aim of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought? In the end, we shall make thought crime literally impossible, because there will be no words in which to express it. Every concept that can ever be needed will be expressed by exactly one word, with its meaning rigidly defined and all its subsidiary meanings rubbed out and forgotten.
Perhaps a lunatic was simply a minority of one.
Freedom is slavery. Then almost without a pause he wrote beneath it, 2 and 2 make 5.
How could you tell how much of it was lies? It might be true that the average human being was better off now than he had been before the revolution. The only evidence to the contrary was the mute protest in your own bones, the instinctive feeling that the conditions you lived in were intolerable, and that at some other time they must have been different.
Within 20 years at the most, he reflected, the huge and simple question, was life better before the revolution than it is now? Would have ceased once and for all to be answerable. But in effect it was unanswerable even now, since the few scattered survivors from the ancient world were incapable of comparing one age with another. They remembered a million useless things, a quarrel with a workmate, a hunt for a lost bicycle bump, the expression on a long-dead sister's face, the swirls of dust on a windy morning 70 years ago. But all the relevant facts were outside the range of their vision. They were like the ant, which can see small objects but not large ones. And when the memory failed and written records were falsified, when that happened, the claim of the party to have improved the conditions of human life had got to be accepted because they did not exist and never again could exist any standard against which it could be tested.
For the first time, he perceived that if you want to keep a secret, you must also hide it from yourself. You must know all the while that it is there, but until it is needed, you must never let it emerge into your consciousness in any shape that could be given a name. From now onwards, he must not only think right, he must feel right, dream right. And all the while, he must keep his hatred locked up inside him like a ball of matter, which was part of him and yet unconnected with the rest of him, a kind of cyst.
The party did not seek power for its own ends, but only for the good of the majority. That it sought power because men in mass were frail, cowardly creatures who could not endure liberty or face the truth, and must be ruled over and systematically deceived by others who were stronger than themselves. That the choice for mankind lay between freedom and happiness, and that happiness was better. That the party was the eternal guardian of the weak, a dedicated sect doing evil that good might come.
Once, when he happened in some connection to mention the war against Eurasia, she startled him by saying casually that in her opinion the war was not happening. The rocket bombs which fell daily on London were probably fired by the government of Oceania itself, just to keep people frightened. This was an idea that literally never occurred to him.
The wonderful prescient words of George Orwell, and I compliment the people here for pulling these quotes out, is a wonderful way to remind us just how important these writers are. The two aims of the party are to conquer the whole surface of the earth and to extinguish once and for all the possibility of independent thought.
There have been a lot of quotes from 1984 today, a work of fiction that we're scared is becoming non-fiction. I want to read, I think, one of the most important non-fiction quotes of our society. And I ask you to listen, mark, and inwardly digest the language of this non-fiction quote to help us guard to ensure that it doesn't become fiction. This quote is our bedrock security in our society, because security is the issue today. So listen to what this quote says about security. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Security. And no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
We got two